everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chapter 1 Read Aloud. Today is the last day I'm going to be highlighting books in our virtual book fair, which ends this Sunday, May 24th. So make sure if you like any of the books that I've read in these Chapter 1 Read Alouds last few weeks that you purchase them at the book fair, so 25% of the proceeds can come right back to our libraries. I'll leave that shopping link below just in case, and in fact, Scholastic is running a Memorial Day weekend sale, so some of your favorite books get an extra discount this weekend. Don't forget, it ends May 24th at midnight, so make sure you get those book orders in. Today, I'm going to be reading you another young adult book. However, this is a popular series that has been in our library, but it has also been very popular amongst our book fair buyers, and it is the Riverdale series. That's right. This is the newest book, Riverdale number 4, and it is called Death of a Cheerleader. Remember, all of these Riverdale novels are prequels to the series. So if you're a fan of the Riverdale series, you'll definitely love these prequel books, which are all mystery thriller books. Again, this one is titled Death of a Cheerleader. Betty, Veronica, Cheryl, and the rest of the River Vixens are heading out of town for the weekend for a cheerleading retreat. So Archie, Jughead, and the rest of the guys decide to have a poker night. But a storm causes the power to go out and the speakeasy goes into lockdown. When the lights come back on, all the cash is gone. The thief has to be someone the guys know, but who? A few hours away, the River Vixens are ready to enjoy a few days of nature and team bonding, but when they arrive at the cheerleading camp, there are two other feuding squads already there. The team from Stonewall Prep claims that the Greendale girls are the reason one of their teammates went missing 2 years ago. Betty and Veronica volunteer to investigate, but then creepy things start happening all over camp. And when one of the cheerleaders nearly drowns in the lake, Betty and Veronica know they have to find out the truth before anyone else gets hurt, or worse. This original Riverdale novel features a story not seen on the show. So, as I mentioned before, this is a prequel, which means it comes before the show. So, think of the storyline of the show. This is all before the show. So, again, if you like the show Riverdale, or if you just like some mystery thriller books, then you'll definitely like the Riverdale series. So, here is the prologue for Riverdale Death of a Cheerleader. And just a heads up, all of these books are told in different viewpoints. So each of the chapters is different viewpoints, but there's also some like text messaging conversation in there too. So it's not just a regular format. It's a little bit mix up. So the prologue, this is from Jughead's point of view. Riverdale is a small town, dripping with quaint. It's easy for the casual observer to assume that life here is nothing but homespun charm and down-home values, whatever that even means. But if you know this place, you know how utterly deceiving looks can be. Think less American, heavy on the Gothic, and you're on the right track. And what we now know with unwavering certainty, in this town there is no rest, nor a modicum of relief for the weary. One other adage that we all know well, nothing gold can stay. Though I hadn't read The Outsider since middle school, I'd never been more aware of that poignant quote that I was the fall we kicked off our senior year at Riverdale High. Truly, though, nothing gold could stay. It never does. And nowhere was that fact truer than in our deceptive little town, where the only constant was change, and the only reliable fact was the present of uncertainty, of chaos. Some philosophers extol the virtues of change, loudly proclaiming how instability forces us as a species to evolve. But in our not so sleepy hamlet, those who were the primary agents of change were less about virtue and more about, well, the seven deadly sins come to mind. This eternal flux of change extended itself to every banal facet of Riverdale life. Our first case in point, technically, I wasn't even at Riverdale High. Not anymore. For senior year, I had left Riverdale High in a thick roar of my motorcycle's engine, a cloud of smoke curling from the exhaust pipe as I cruised out of town to tiny Stonewall Prep boarding school. In a word, it was unexpected. The last time I'd left Riverdale, it was begrudgingly, under duress. I was I was shuttled to Southside High after first being cycled into foster care. To be fair, it wasn't a terrible experience. At Southside, I had found a place with my people, the Serpents, and for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to embrace my legacy with them. Lately, we'd even grown our numbers with an informal alliance with Tony Topaz's Pretty Poisons. This time, I was leaving Riverdale High by choice, even if it was a difficult one, with consequences both anticipated and unforeseen. The opportunity to enroll at Stonewall Prep had presented itself to me practically unbidden. It was a shiny brass ring on a carnival carousel, and I grabbed it with both hands tight because admission to Stonewall meant that I might have a shot at leaving behind a legacy too. By following my dream of becoming a writer, Stonewall gave me a chance to go somewhere with that nurtured my work and encouraged me to take it seriously. It physically pained me to leave my friends behind, to say nothing of what it felt like to be separated from Betty. But this was a step toward a larger plan, a path to becoming the first in my family to go to college. Nothing gold could stay, but greener pastures, they were out there once in the rarest of wilds, if you were willing to go out on a limb. That's why they're called hard choices, right? Because they're hard and they have repercussions. I tried to stay positive, to expect the best, even if I wasn't a shiny, happy enough guy to flat out hope for it. If I believed in anything in this bizarre, unpredictable world, I had to allow myself, however naively, I'll admit, to believe that Betty and I were unbreakable. But only time would tell. We both knew that. And even though we weren't admitting it out loud or in so many words, I knew we were both at least a little bit worried too. Maybe more than a little bit, though, if you asked me straight up, I'd deny it with everything I've got. Of course, Betty was fully supportive of my decision to enroll at Stonewall. She understood the unbelievable opportunity it was for me. But the idea of being physically separated for days or weeks at a time, how could we not have nagging doubts? It wasn't only us, after all. Transition, with everything fraught and complicated that it implicitly carried, was a virus burning through our town's bloodstream. Call it something in the air, some uniquely Riverdale quality that insists on consuming and annihilating anything good, pure, reliable, or stable in its path. Varchi, for instance, was dealing with their own unbearable strain right now, too. Archie had been through a veritable ringer last year, but he had managed to come out on the other side through sheer force of will. This, in addition to his friend's support, of course, and Veronica was the first one in his corner every time, no question. Now, the less straightforward question, for any of us who loved Archie as much as we did, was how to help our boy get through the devastating loss of his father. Fred Andrews' absence was one we all felt acutely. There was nothing to say or to do to lessen our friend's pain, but Veronica was determined to try. We all were. In typical Archie fashion, he was putting on a brave face, coveting the El Royale boxing gym into a community center in his father's honor, looking out for neighborhood kids who might be in need of a good Samaritan, just the way his father would have, the way his father always did. I think all three of us worried that, to some extent. He was trying to keep busy, to distract himself. There was nothing wrong with that, especially not if it was what he needed to cope. I know, though, that we all wanted him to feel like could open up to us. We wanted to be there for him, to comfort him, but the rest was up to Archie, no matter how hard it was for us just to stand by and watch while he struggled, especially given that we were dealing with our own struggles, too. For me specifically, that meant the Stonewall Four. Four students presumed missing, regardless of how insignificant, how deeply insufficient that term was. Had I honestly thought I would transfer schools and escape my hometown scot free? Chaos, loss, and confusion, they clung to me, nipping at my heels. You could take the boy out of Riverdale, but there was no taking the Riverdale out of the boy. So that was chapter 1 of Death of a Cheerleader, which is the fourth book in the Riverdale series. So if that sounded like a good read, then go ahead and buy it from our virtual book fair. And I'll see you next time on chapter 1 Read Aloud.